I never meant to see him like that. But once I did, something in me changed, and I haven't been the same since. The rain had started around dusk, soft and steady, tapping against the windows like a secret trying to get in. The house was too quiet. My husband had taken a late flight out to a conference in Seattle, and for once, I was alone in my own home, or so I thought. I had made a cup of chamomile tea, tucked into my robe, and wandered to the living room where the soft yellow glow of a table lamp made the space feel warmer than it was. That's when I heard it. The faint shuffle of movement upstairs. I knew he was staying over. Tyler, my stepson. 23. Finishing up grad school. He'd been crashing in the guest room between internships, polite as ever, always helping with dishes, always saying thank you. But tonight, something was different. I felt it before I even went up the stairs. A strange stillness in the air, like the pause before something breaks. He was in the room at the end of the hall. Door cracked. Light spilling out in a narrow beam. I told myself I'd just check on him. Maybe say goodnight. Maybe offer him some tea. I don't know. The truth is, I was restless. Maybe even lonely. I knocked once. Soft. No answer. Then I pushed the door gently with 2 fingers. He was standing by the window, shirtless, his back to me, phone in hand. The light from the street lamp outside cut across his body, golden and sharp, outlining his shoulders, the curve of his neck. I froze. Not because of what he was doing, but because of how it made me feel. He turned. And when he saw me, he didn't flinch. Didn't cover up. Just held my gaze, as if we both already knew what this was, this unspoken current that had been building for weeks. The stolen glances at breakfast. The brief touch when we'd both reached for the same spoon. The way he'd lingered in the kitchen after my husband left, saying little, saying everything. I didn't hear you knock, he said, voice low. I opened my mouth to apologize, but the words wouldn't come. Not because I was embarrassed, but because I didn't want to leave. I didn't want to close the door and pretend I hadn't seen him. I didn't want to keep pretending, period. I began, but the sentence died. I stepped inside instead. Just one step. He looked at me like I wasn't his stepmother. Not in that moment. He looked at me like a woman. Like someone he wanted. And it terrified me how much I wanted to be seen that way. I felt the robe slip slightly from my shoulder, revealing more than I meant to. Or maybe it was exactly what I meant. He noticed. His eyes flicked downward, then back to mine, slower this time. There was silence between us, but it wasn't awkward. It was heavy, electric. Did you need something? He asked, softer now. I nodded, though I wasn't sure what I was agreeing to. My hands trembled around the teacup. The heat of it pressing into my palms felt nothing compared to the heat that had crept up my neck. I took another step. So did he. We were 2 feet apart when something broke the moment. The doorbell rang. A single chime, sharp, unexpected. We both turned toward the hallway. I felt my heart spike, breath catch. The spell was broken. Or maybe it had only just begun. The doorbell kept ringing long after the moment had passed. I left the room quickly, clutching my robe tighter, heart pounding as if I'd been caught doing something I hadn't even done, yet. It was just the delivery guy. A late-night mix-up. Wrong address. I barely remember what I said to him, just mumbled something and closed the door. When I turned around, Tyler was standing in the hallway. I thought you might need help, he said, voice careful. I shook my head. No. It's fine. Just, wrong house. But my voice cracked on the last word, and we both heard it. Something fragile inside me slipping loose. Back in the kitchen, I poured the tea into the sink. The heat had vanished. The moment had changed shape, but it hadn't disappeared. It was still hanging there, in the look we shared when I passed him on the stairs, in the silence that followed. I went to bed but didn't sleep. I hadn't slept well in years, honestly. Not since my marriage began running on autopilot. Daniel was a good man, dependable, but distant. We hadn't touched each other like lovers in almost 2 years. Conversations had become transactional: groceries, bills, travel plans. Nothing that made me feel seen. Tyler, though, he saw me. I don't know when it started. Maybe the first time he looked at me without calling me stepmom. He always said Lena. Just Lena. Like I was more than a role someone assigned to me. And he wasn't just some reckless kid. His mother died when he was 16. He'd seen more loss than most men twice his age. He carried it in the way he hesitated before speaking, as if checking himself. In the quiet confidence that didn't ask for approval. There was an ache in him I recognized. It mirrored my own. I heard him moving downstairs later. Cabinets opening. Water running. I found myself walking down again, as if pulled by something I couldn't reason away. He was standing by the sink. He turned when he heard me. "You're not sleeping either," he said. I nodded. "I never do, really." He hesitated, then said, "Me neither. Especially not here." "Why not here?" He looked at me like the answer was obvious. "Because you're here." I swallowed hard. "Tyler, I'm not stupid. I know this is impossible. But I also know I'm not imagining it." I wanted to tell him to stop. That it was wrong. That he was too young, that I was married to his father, that everything about this would destroy lives. But instead, I just looked at him, and let the silence stretch. He stepped closer. Just a breath away. "I remember the first time I noticed you weren't just Dad's wife," he said. "You were laughing at something I said at dinner. And I thought, she looks so alive. And I hadn't seen that in anyone in a long time. I should have walked away. I didn't. Instead, I reached for the mug in his hand, and our fingers brushed. Just a touch. But neither of us let go. Our fingers stayed locked for a second too long. His eyes were on me, steady, sure, and my heart was thudding like it was trying to shake me awake. "I shouldn't be here," I whispered, but I didn't move. "You already are," he said. He leaned in slightly. Not enough to cross the line, but enough to make it tremble. That's when the front door creaked open. We jerked apart like we'd been burned. Footsteps. A bag dropped. A suitcase wheel rattled against the floor. Daniel. He was home 2 days early. My husband. Tyler's father. I grabbed the mug from Tyler's hand and stepped back, forcing a smile onto my face just as Daniel walked into the kitchen. "Surprise," he said, wiping the rain off his jacket. "Flights got changed. Figured I'd just come home." "Yeah," I said, voice catching. "Surprise." He kissed my cheek absently, then turned to his son. "Didn't know you were staying tonight, Ty." "Just one more night," Tyler said smoothly. "Then back to campus." Daniel nodded and yawned. "Good. I'm beat. I'm gonna crash." When he left the room, the silence between me and Tyler roared back. I couldn't even look at him. "This was a mistake," I said under my breath. "We can't do this." "I know," he said, just as low. "But I'm not the one pretending nothing's happening." My hands were shaking. I turned away, gripping the edge of the counter. What the hell was I doing? He moved behind me, close again. Close enough for me to feel the warmth of him, even without a touch. "You want to push me away?" "Do it," he said. But stop acting like you don't feel this. I closed my eyes. I'd been good my whole life. The responsible one. The caregiver. The peacemaker. And for what? A cold marriage? A half-empty bed? Years of making myself smaller? This wasn't supposed to happen. He was my stepson. But that word didn't even feel real anymore. Not when he looked at me like this. Not when he made me feel like me again. I can't hurt your father, I said finally. He exhaled sharply. Then tell me to leave. Tell me to go. And I will. I turned. His face was inches from mine. I didn't say a word. His hand brushed my arm, light, almost accidental. But it wasn't. Every part of me lit up. In the next moment, we heard the bedroom door shut upstairs. A clear, final sound. We stepped apart again, breathing hard, hearts pounding. He took a step back. I'll leave in the morning. I nodded, but we both knew it wasn't over. As he walked away, I pressed my hand against my chest, trying to calm the chaos inside. I was supposed to feel ashamed. But all I felt was awake. The next morning, the house felt colder. Or maybe it was just me. Daniel was in the shower. I could hear the water running upstairs, rhythmic, oblivious. I stood in the kitchen in silence, staring into my coffee, willing my thoughts to settle. They didn't. Tyler hadn't come down yet. I assumed he'd left early, like he said. I told myself that was for the best. That it meant we were still safe. Then I turned, and he was standing in the hallway. Hair damp, bag slung over his shoulder, but his eyes were locked on me like last night had never ended. I didn't want to leave without saying goodbye, he said. I swallowed. You should go. He stepped into the kitchen. Say it like you mean it, and I will. Tyler, you didn't sleep last night, he said, cutting me off. Neither did I. You think I didn't hear you pacing? You think I don't feel what this is? I set the coffee down too hard. I feel it. That's the problem. His jaw clenched. Then tell me what this is. Tell me you haven't been thinking about me for weeks. Tell me last night was nothing. I shook my head. You want the truth? It scares the hell out of me. Why? He demanded. Because I'm married to your father. I hissed. Because you're young and reckless and I don't even know if this is real or if I'm just some forbidden fantasy to you. He stepped closer, and I backed into the counter. You think I haven't tried to fight this, he said, voice low, raw. I hate it. I hate wanting you like this. But I do. And I know you want me too. I stared at him, heart racing. My skin felt hot, my throat dry. Every part of me was screaming to shut this down, but my body wouldn't move. Say it, he whispered. Say you want me and I'll stay. I opened my mouth. Closed it again. He turned, ran his hand through his hair, angry now. You're scared? You think I'm not? You think it doesn't mess with my head that I want her, my father's wife? He turned back to me, eyes dark with frustration and something else, need. Tell me this is one-sided and I'll disappear. I won't come back. Ever. He was right in front of me now. Breathing hard. Chest rising and falling. You're not a fantasy to me, Lena, he said, quieter this time. You're the only real thing I've felt in years. The silence between us was deafening. Then, from upstairs, footsteps. Daniel. Tyler heard it too. But he didn't move. He leaned in, just enough for his lips to almost brush mine. Tell me to leave, he whispered. I stood frozen, heart slamming against my ribs. Upstairs, the bathroom door clicked open. And just as I parted my lips to say something, the bedroom door creaked. Daniel was coming downstairs. The moment shattered like glass. Daniel's voice called from the stairs, casual and unaware. "Lena? You seen my phone?" Tyler pulled back so fast it left air between us. I stepped away too, heart hammering so loudly I could barely hear my own thoughts. "In the bedroom, probably," I called back, forcing calm into my voice. Tyler's jaw was tight. His hands clenched at his sides. The space between us felt heavier than ever, full of everything we hadn't said, and everything we'd almost done. Daniel's footsteps retreated back upstairs. "I should go," Tyler said, voice hollow. I nodded. "Yes. You should." But he didn't move. Not yet. He just stood there, looking at me like he was trying to memorize something. Then, "I'm sorry." I didn't answer. He walked out the door. The silence that followed should have felt like relief. But it didn't. It felt like a wound. I tried to go on with the day. Cleaned dishes I didn't need to clean. Folded laundry that had already been folded. I told myself this was over. That it had to be. Until, hours later, Daniel called me into the living room. "Lena," he said, holding his phone out. "Did you see this?" I took it, and my stomach dropped. A text thread. From Tyler. Not to me. To someone named Matt. "Matt, 9:21 a.m. You're insane. That's your stepmom." Tyler, 9:22 a.m. I know. But she's not happy. I see it. I feel it. I'm not letting her waste her life. Matt, 9:23 a.m. So what now? You gonna tell him? Tyler, 9:25 a.m. I already did. I stared at the screen. What is this? Daniel looked at me, jaw stiff. That's what I was hoping you could tell me. My throat closed up. He told you? Daniel's voice didn't rise. It just dropped, cold and quiet. He left me a voicemail this morning. Said he was in love with you. That I should know the truth. I sat down because my legs wouldn't hold me. He said nothing happened yet, Daniel went on. But that it almost did. That he wanted it to. I tried to speak, but nothing came. My chest felt like it was caving in. I didn't believe it at first, Daniel said, looking away. Thought maybe he was lashing out. Jealous of our marriage, or something twisted like that. But then I saw how you looked when you read that text. Tears stung my eyes. Daniel, I never meant, stop, he cut in. Not cruel. Just tired. Don't lie to me. Please. He stood up, paced once, then turned back. I don't know what hurts more, he said, that my son loves my wife, or that maybe, you love him back. He didn't wait for an answer. He just walked out the front door. And for the first time in years, I didn't chase him. Because I didn't know what the truth was anymore. Or what I wanted it to be. The house felt too big after Daniel left. I sat on the edge of the couch, phone in my hand, Tyler's name hovering on the screen. I hadn't called. He hadn't either. Silence wrapped around me like a second skin, familiar, suffocating. I replayed Daniel's voice over and over in my head. I don't know what hurts more, that my son loves my wife, or that maybe you love him back. Did I? I didn't know how to name what I felt. But I knew it had cracked something wide open inside me. Something I had kept sealed for years. By evening, I couldn't take it anymore. I got in the car and drove. Tyler's apartment was barely lit. A single lamp glowed near the window. I hesitated at the door, then knocked. He opened it almost immediately. Like he'd been waiting. His eyes were tired. He didn't speak. Can I come in? I asked. He stepped aside. I walked in, heart pounding. You told him. I couldn't lie anymore, he said. Not to him. Not to myself. I swallowed hard. You should have let me handle it. You wouldn't have, he said. You would have buried it and called it sacrifice. He wasn't wrong. I hurt him, I said, voice cracking. So did I, he replied. But we didn't cheat. We just told the truth too late. I turned to face him. And what now? You think this becomes a love story? You think we just move forward like nothing's broken? No, he said. I think we own what's real, even if we can't have it. I looked at him. Really looked. He wasn't some fantasy anymore. He was flawed, hurting, brave, and still, somehow, standing there willing to risk everything. I didn't come here to run away with you, I said. His mouth tightened. Okay. But I didn't come here to lie either. I stepped closer. When you touched me, when you looked at me like I wasn't invisible. I remembered who I was before I became someone's wife. Before I became safe. He nodded slowly, chest rising with a shaky breath. And now? Now I have to face what I chose, I said. And what I let go of. Maybe this, I gestured between us, was never meant to last. But it meant something. To both of us. It still does, he whispered. I reached up, my hand gently brushing his cheek. He leaned into it without thinking. I'm not ready to be with anyone, I said. Not yet. Maybe not for a long time. He nodded. I know. We stood in that silence, messy, raw, unfinished. I turned to leave. My hand was on the doorknob when he said it. I'll wait, he said simply. Even if it means never. I'll still wait. I didn't look back. But I didn't close the door all the way either. And for now, that was enough. 3 weeks passed. Daniel and I barely spoke after that night. He stayed with a friend. I stayed in the house, walking through it like a museum of a life I wasn't sure I wanted anymore. We met once. At a diner, halfway between forgiveness and finality. He asked if I'd slept with Tyler. I told him the truth, I hadn't. But I also told him that something had happened between us. Something I couldn't pretend away. Daniel nodded like he'd already known. He didn't yell. He didn't cry. He just asked for honesty, and I gave it to him, even when it hurt. We didn't talk about saving the marriage. Not really. We both knew too much damage had already been done long before Tyler entered the picture. He was just the spark that lit the fire under years of quiet disconnection. I don't hate you, Daniel said as we stood in the parking lot. But I don't know how to look at you and not see him. I understood. And I didn't ask him to try. Tyler texted me once, just checking in. I'm okay. I hope you are too. No pressure. Just. I miss your voice. I didn't respond right away. I needed time. Space. To sit with what this all really meant. I thought about everything we could have been, and everything we already were. A moment that burned too bright to ignore, but too complicated to carry forward recklessly. Eventually, I wrote back. I'm okay. Healing. One step at a time. I don't know what happens next. But thank you. For seeing me. For making me feel alive again. That part? I'll never regret. He didn't reply. Not right away. And that was okay too. I started therapy. I opened the windows more. I repainted the hallway a soft blue, like breath. I started walking every morning, same path, same time. Some days I hoped I might run into Tyler. Most days, I just tried to meet myself again. He showed up one morning, though. Weeks later. Just a quiet nod from across the street. We didn't speak. But he smiled. And so did I. This wasn't a love story with a big, sweeping ending. No grand reunion. No declarations. But it was real. Two people who found each other in the middle of broken things. Who saw something honest in the other's eyes. And while the world around them wasn't ready for what they felt, they still let it change them. Sometimes love doesn't have to last forever to mean everything. Sometimes just being seen is enough to start over. But what do you think? If you were in my place, would you have walked away from Tyler, or walked toward him? Would you risk love if it meant tearing open the past? Or would you stay safe and wonder what could have been? Let me know in the comments.